everybody. Welcome back to my LinkedIn Lives. I'm Jasmine Navarro, certified wellbeing expert, working with educational institutions and companies, helping them support their family wellbeing challenges. And as you know, every week I interview different experts who make a difference. And today I'm super excited, finally, after all this time, to be interviewing Kyle. Hi, Kyle. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
No, it's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Carl Fennell. I'm actually a contract manager. I work for an international company based predominantly in the UK, but we are out in the Middle East. We've been here for a number of years. So I manage facilities management. So the contract that I work on is a government contract down in Abu Dhabi. And we deliver hard and soft facilities management to our client.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming. I've had lots of comments and questions before our live. I think this is such a hot topic now, isn't it? So you chose mental health in the workplace. Can you tell us a bit more about what that means to you and why you chose it for today?
Yeah. I manage a mental health disorder, so primarily it is a personal interest to me. What I found throughout my career is that people they tend not to talk about it, and I find talking about it helps. I find it helps me, but also it helps others. And particularly, I've done quite a lot of work over the last year and a half while I've been at the organisation I'm at now. And kind of my life mission, if you like, is to literally just raise awareness of mental health in the workplace. I was kind of given some impetus a few years ago when I read some statistics which were truly shocking about people who were really too afraid to say anything to their either their line manager or their employer, the fear of it damaging either their reputation or their career. Mental health affects, or negative mental health affects, so many people around the world. It's literally hundreds of millions of people. So, people are not on their own, but sometimes I find that they are probably too afraid or too ashamed to either start a conversation or to admit maybe that they're undergoing treatment, or that they're struggling. And it's really just about raising that awareness within the workplace, from a position of a leadership position where I can maybe have some influence over other people.
I think it's fantastic, and I agree with everything that you said. And I think what you said, people are scared, and actually, are really afraid of being judged. And sometimes I think people might not be feeling okay, but they have no idea like what to do. Maybe they're scared to tell people in their workplace. Maybe they're scared to tell their family as well. Like, I know people, for example, in my family, who I think there's something not quite right, but I know that I can't bring it up with them, and I know they won't bring it up with me. So nobody says anything. So that person's just suffering in silence.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, by fostering these types of conversations in the workplace, it encourages people to speak about them. I mean, in the last year, I've had over 30 conversations with people, just through the work I do, while I'm at work. This is people throughout our organization. I might do a presentation. I might, just have a session on a Teams call with people, and somebody reaches out because they see somebody else who maybe can empathize with them, who possibly is going through something similar or has been through something similar. And it creates a position of trust, and that, I firmly believe, that enables people to feel comfortable enough to start to speak about it and open up. I mean, it's interesting that you said that people in your family maybe that might benefit for some help, but you don't feel like you can bring it up. And that, actually, speaking to somebody who's not in your family about something like that, in my experience can actually be slightly easier. You know, somebody outside of the
Yes.
home can
Definitely.
say, Carl, you don't seem yourself today. Are you okay? Is everything, you know, do you need any support? Do you need any help? Is
Yeah.
something going on? Whereas back in the family home, it might be, I'm fine, don't worry about it. But, you know, because you don't want to burden that other person in your family that maybe you do have a problem, you don't want to worry them. So I find that those conversations in the workplace can be easier.
Absolutely. I completely agree. And also, like you said, the power of conversations, it really, once you've said it out loud, you really do feel a bit of relief, don't you? Okay, it's not going to solve everything straight away, but it's just like you said, just talking about it can really, because some people say, what's the point of talking about it? Nothing's going to change. I've heard that so many times. It's like, well, no, it does actually help. It is therapeutic just talking about it, even if you can't solve the problem right there and then. It helps, doesn't it? Because loneliness, you can feel so lonely when you don't when you're just thinking about everything.
Yeah, and you know, it's sometimes you're actually admitting it out loud, maybe for the first time. Maybe
Yes.
that you're going through something, you have been going through something for a huge amount of time. These things can manifest themselves for many, many years.
Oh,
And
yeah.
you know, having that very first conversation is probably, in my experience, again, is probably the hardest one to have. It's
Yeah.
you're essentially having a conversation with yourself, with somebody else listening, and
Yeah.
that can, the relief that you can feel, it's like, yes, I need to, I have something wrong, but probably not the right choice of words there, but
I
I
know what
have
you mean.
something
Yeah.
that I need to address. And maybe this is day number one of my journey through to seeking help, if that's what I feel I need. And then, you know, going on that journey to recovery, whatever that might look like. So yeah, I mean, these little conversations can be so important, and you know, they might start off little, but if you've got
Mhm.
time to build a rapport with somebody, they can be repeat conversations, and they can be um, really quite cathartic for both people. You know,
Definitely.
I had an incident with somebody that I used to work with, and we, you know, we had a heart to heart. He needed to have a conversation, and actually, it was as good for me as it was for him. We had a very similar background. It was really weird. It was, you know, that
Wow.
those conversations that came up were very similar. And
Yeah.
yeah, you just don't know. You just don't know what you're going to be faced with when you, or what's going to come out of those conversations.
And that's so important what you said as well, because sometimes people, they don't want to open up because they feel maybe they don't want to be a burden, or they don't want to like worry somebody or be a problem at work or whatever reason. But like you just said, yeah, that can happen as well. That you actually end up, by you expressing your, your worries, your problems, you can actually help the other person, because maybe
Mm.
they could be feeling that too, or maybe they felt it in the past, or it's a connection. You build, like you said, the connection and the trust, don't you, when you open up?
Yeah, the connection's really important, but for me, the most important thing
Yeah.
is trust. It's having a conversation with somebody, then, because for them to have this conversation, maybe they've not had it with somebody else, and it will be very damaging that if you break that trust. So if I have a conversation with somebody and then go and tell everybody about it, then, you know, how would that make that person feel if they found out about that? So I always say to people, this is a safe space. You can tell me whatever you want to tell me. I'm not here to judge. I'm not here um, to give you advice. I'm not a trained professional. I can listen. I can signpost things that maybe if you need them. Um, but most of all, it's 100% confidential. And I won't
Brilliant.
divulge the content of those conversations to anybody, because I know that if I was on the other side of the fence and I needed to have a conversation like that, I would want it to be kept confidential.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, yeah, you're right. It's not about giving advice, is it? It's just about listen, like simple things like listen, like literally
Mm,
just listening. You might not have to say
yes.
anything, but if somebody can feel that you're actually really listening to them and not just like looking at them, which is what normally happens. You know, if you can actually feel that that person is interested in what you're saying and they're listening, just that actually is quite therapeutic, isn't it? Because then you feel, oh, I matter. I'm in, you know, it's what I'm saying is important, you know?
Yeah, and again, you know, the courage to have these conversations is immense, or it can be. And part of somebody coming to you is because they feel that they can trust you, that they want somebody to listen. And like you say, listening to somebody, being intently listening, and then responding at the right moments, giving them time to say what they need to say. They can be quite challenging conversations, and you know, sometimes they're not for the faint-hearted. I've had some conversations that are very hard to process,
Really?
but they can be. And also you can end up taking them away with you, and it can, that's the other side of it. You know, it's great having the conversations, but you need to be careful yourself that you're not burdening yourself with other people's problems. And again, sometimes switching off, particularly if it resonates with you, like I said a few minutes ago, if there's somebody that's got something very similar to what you've been through, it can be quite hard to switch off and let go. But you know, that I wouldn't discourage anybody from having these types of conversations. It would just be mindful of your own thoughts and how you're processing that information when those conversations are finished. It's not healthy for you to carry those burdens with you.
No, and I guess you probably need to talk to somebody about that after, if you're carrying other people's.
Yeah, I mean, it can be, again, the confidence has to be there, but you know, the more you do it, the easier it is to separate. But you know, there was one thing sticks in my mind, which I can't go into, but it actually shocked me. It was an email that I'd received with somebody, you know, basically explaining what was going on in their life, and it was really, I needed to reply, but I had to give myself some space to process what was written down. And you know, at that point, it's like, am I the right person really here to be dealing with something like this? But yeah, that took a little bit of time to kind of process and not get over, but to kind of move on from. That was quite difficult, and that poor person was going through a very difficult time.
And how did you manage it? Was it the fact that you gave yourself the space? That's what you needed?
Yeah, I think before I responded, I thought long and hard about what I should say. Again, as I said, I'm not a trained professional. I can't give advice. I did some signposting. I gave as much information as I possibly could. And I think when I sent my reply and thought about it, I felt I'd done as much as I was capable of doing.
Okay.
So it was about, you know, I hope that person's okay. I hope that, yeah, even if they don't take any notice of anything that I've said, I hope that they are, you know, that they're safe and they're able to get some help. Was ideally it. But yeah, it was just me kind of convincing myself that I'd done probably as much as I was able to do. I still think about it. I didn't get a reply, but yeah, it was a tough one at the time to deal with.
I think as well, it probably says a lot about you that person felt that they could disclose what they disclosed to you. You know, that just shows that they trusted you. So that shows that, you know, you're doing something right, I'd say.
Yeah, and that came from on the back of a presentation I gave on mental health. I'd never met this person before. I didn't know who they were. They worked for the same organisation, so you know they happened to join that call, and it prompted them to send what must have been an incredibly difficult message to a complete stranger.
Yeah, exactly. So no. And what kind of, you mentioned you do like webinars on mental health. What kind of topics do you go into?
I think that the thing that I find that people most resonate with is anxiety.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody has it. Of course we do. If we didn't have any anxiety, we wouldn't have any sense of urgency. Things would never get done. But I think out of all the conversations I've had with people, out of all of the feedback I've had from what I've done, it's basically breaking down what anxiety is. Saying it's not a bad thing. It's a bad thing if it takes over your life. And I normally at that point would share a personal story that I'm, as I said, I'm on a mental health journey. I have been for many years. Last year I had quite a bad time. My anxiety was really bad. So I can speak from experience, and again when I'm sharing my own story, people feel like you're being genuine, and it's like, wow,
Yes.
if Carl's feeling like that, because to look at him you wouldn't know it,
Yeah.
and he's brave enough to say something, then that would prompt a conversation. But yeah, depression and anxiety are really the two, but anxiety generally gets much more response out of people, because most people in a week they'll have some kind of level of anxiety. It's just important to recognize when it doesn't go away and it goes untreated, it can actually be very damaging to your health. So, and really what I would talk about is, signs and symptoms, and then the kind of thing that it does to your body if you ignore it, and the kind of thing it does to your mind if you ignore it. So, and again, it's just giving people tips of how to cope, and kind of how to try and bring themselves out of maybe a period of time where they've got anxiety that they can't really manage very well.
No, brilliant. Yeah, and I think that is the key, isn't it? Knowing what to do, and again, having the conversations, because knowing that they're probably not the only person who's suffering or feeling the anxiety, because like you said, it is a normal emotion as well. But of course, if it's left, it could spiral and turn into something much worse. But yeah, having the conversation, knowing how to respond to anxiety is so important. So I think, the work that you're doing is really important. We've got a question here on Instagram from Sarah. Hi, Sarah. How are you doing? She says, what's one myth about mental health in the workplace you wish you could throw in the bin?
Well, okay. That it somehow makes you inferior.
Yes.
I'm no less of a person because I admit that I've got a mental health disorder. One thing I always say to people is, if I walked into the office with a broken leg, everybody would be gathered around me. Carly, you're okay? What's going on? What's happened? If I walk in and my soul is broken, nobody would know any different. So that stigmatism is definitely very damaging. Yeah.
That's really sad what you said. My soul is broken. That's so. In fact, that's worse for me. That's worse anyway than typical. Well, I mean, it's all none of it's good. Yeah, totally understand. I remember when I broke my wrist, I got so much attention, and I was like, I was quite like enjoying all this attention. I was like, I can't believe this. When I've had times that have been so much more difficult, I've got nothing.
And nobody said anything because they don't. Yeah, because they don't know, or it's not spoken about, because it's not considered to be the done thing at work. Just get on with your job and you'll be okay, kind of thing.
Yeah. Or is it as well that they're scared that, if say you said you were depressed or feeling bad, I think before, maybe still now, people are scared to even like associate with you or even get into a conversation with you, because either they're scared that they might catch it, or they're scared that, I don't know, that somehow it's going to affect them.
I think that the reason people don't is because they don't know what to say. I think if people who go through this kind of thing, they know that they understand. When you speak to somebody else, you can share your personal story, and you can share, or you can empathize with people. There are people on this planet that don't suffer, and all power to them. That's great. If you're trying to have a conversation and empathize and have a conversation that actually makes a difference in somebody's life, and you've got absolutely no real understanding of where they're at, what they're going through, what they've been through, what they need to do to fix themselves, maybe it's too much of a mountain for them to climb, and it's easier just not to say anything. My purpose really is to those who do want to speak, those who do want to counsel, those who do want to be involved in those kinds of conversations or those environments, talk about it, raise awareness about it, and have people join the party if that's what they want to do. I don't force anybody to do anything.
No,
There
brilliant.
are
Yeah.
many people in my office that don't want to talk to me about it, and I don't feel anything other than that. That's absolutely fine.
Yes.
But there
Yeah.
are those people who do, and if I only reach one person,
Oh yeah.
then for me it makes it worthwhile.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I totally think that as well. One life is, I mean, and
Mm,
then they could affect somebody else's life. I mean, it's all a
exactly.
ripple effect, isn't it? I've
Yeah.
got another question here from Sarah again, actually. She says, what's a workplace habit that we can start implementing straight away to help with mental health? I do believe in habits, the power of habits.
Yeah. I think just have fun. I think,
Oh yeah, I like that. Yeah.
yeah,
Definitely.
just show up with the best version of yourself, and be yourself, and don't feel stifled. Encourage people to enjoy themselves at work. We spend so much of our so much of our week at work
Yeah.
that we spend more time with colleagues than we do a lot of the time with our families. So being yourself, it kind of it's just like an extension of being at home. And while we don't always get on with all of our colleagues, because that wouldn't probably be normal, we would, find people that you do enjoy spending time with, have a laugh and a joke when it's
Yeah.
appropriate, obviously, but
Yeah.
just try and be yourself, and just try and
Mm.
engage with those people around you, because you used the word lonely earlier, and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
it can be very lonely if you're feeling isolated like that, and
Oh,
you kind of, there's not many people in your group. So I hope that answers Sarah's question, but that's probably off the top of my head one of
yeah.
the best things that we can do.
No, I think yeah, absolutely. And I love what you said about having fun and laughing. I think
Mm,
sometimes people forget to actually have
yes,
fun. They just get so wrapped up in work and sleep, work, sleep, work, sleep. And it's like,
yes.
what's the point of it all if you're not actually going to have fun?
No, exactly. And yeah, you need to enjoy the work that you do, whatever profession you're in, whatever you do. Um, the day goes much quicker if you're enjoying it, and if you're engaging with other people. We are, as humans, we are sociable people. We need to be around other people. That is in itself good for our mental health. So
Exactly.
yeah, encourage that positive vibe as much as you can.
And having those conversations. No, brilliant. No, I love everything that you're saying. We are running out of time, but
Oh,
is
okay.
there anything else you want to touch on before we go about that you think is quite important that you haven't mentioned about mental health in the workplace?
I just think it's just a question I get asked a lot is how do you encourage people to speak? How do you be
Yes, that's a
a safe space? And it's being authentic. And like I said to you, I'm not ashamed of my mental disorder. Um, that does generally help people to relate and to open up, and having even little conversations. If I have one-to-ones with my team, are you okay? Yeah, I know you said you're okay, but are you really okay?
brilliant.
And encouraging them to come to me as well and ask me, because if I'm not, I don't always realize it until maybe it's a little bit too late. So other people can come to me and say, "Carl, you don't seem yourself. Is everything all right?" I had that conversation just last week.
Did you?
And actually, it's really nice when somebody that comes to you, because of a lot of what I do is for other people. So somebody to actually take the time out and go, "Carl, you don't seem very good today. Is everything okay?" actually goes a long way, and that spreads, and that is kind of infectious. But so,
Yeah,
yeah,
kind.
I think if people are genuinely interested in creating a safe space at work, just go and think about how you can do it, being authentic, being genuine, asking little questions, get a group together, you know, anything like that, to start to just to have a conversation turns into many conversations, turns into all of a sudden you've got a really strong mental health culture in the workplace. So I would encourage that, and I think that is, if anybody's interested, that's a good place to start.
Oh, that's brilliant. Brilliant. That's such a good place to end as well. Yes, just taking that tiny step, these small steps are what
Yes.
lasts an impact. So it's a small step, but it's actually a very big step, isn't it?
It is.
But no, thank you so much, Carl. It's been amazing talking to you. I think
I've really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on. And I'm sure that this conversation has helped, you know, like we said, if it's helped one person, then that's brilliant. That's brilliant. How can people find you?
I'm on LinkedIn. I am on Instagram, but you won't find me on Instagram. But yeah, I'm on LinkedIn, so it's Carl Fennell. And yeah, so I'm on there. By all means, reach out and connect. And they can obviously find me through the post that you put on LinkedIn the other day.
Okay. Yes. And if anyone has any questions about this, please feel free to message Carl directly or on the post. That's absolutely fine. Or you can write a question or comment on the post as well. And yes, we'd love to hear from you. And thank you so much, Carl. It's been an absolute pleasure. Really enjoyed that conversation.
Me too.
Yeah, and I'll see everybody next week.
Thank you, everyone.